Okay, so good morning, everyone. My name is Lisa Condorido. I will be the moderator of today's session. And on behalf of the Research and Innovation Foundation, I would like to thank you for joining us for today's webinar on decoding the RIF innovation programs. Now, in terms of the agenda, as announced, we will start with a short presentation on the content of the programs, discussing the changes introduced and the calls for the second cutoff date, based, of course, on the feedback that we have received from our evaluators, but also from you. We will have a short question and answer session to address some questions, and we will then proceed with the main part of this webinar, which is, of course, the panel discussion with the evaluators who took part in the second phase of evaluation of the first cutoff date, but also Ms. Tabriana Koftaros, who is the Vice President of the RIF's Board of Directors. So just a little housekeeping before we get started. So if you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the questions tab in your control panel. I'll bring them up after the presentation rather. The slides are available in the handouts tab on your control panel, where you may download them for future reference. The panel discussion will be organized around specific themes, but feel free to pose your questions anytime during the discussion, and I will pose them to the evaluators to be discussed. Now, as we do have a full house today, there's almost 100 people currently joining, please keep your questions short and to the point, and we will do our best to address them in the best way possible. If for any reason we don't have time to answer each and every question, we will get back to you in writing after the webinar. Now, to make the webinar as interactive as possible, I will be launching a series of polls for you to join in. They will come up on your screen. Please choose your choice in terms of answer and interact with us. Now, I would like to remind you that this session is being recorded, so you may share it with colleagues or watch it afterwards if for some reason you cannot be with us the whole time. So, as a warm-up, I will be launching the first poll for you. Please let me know if it comes up on your screen. So the first poll is, why are you here today? Okay, so I've just launched it. So the first option is, I want to hear more about the RIF's innovation programs. I am here for the hints and tips from the part of the evaluators, or I am really here out of curiosity, which is perfectly fine, or all of the above. So let's see your answers. Just give you a couple more seconds. Okay, I think we've got all the, no, few more voting. Okay, very interesting. Okay, so I'm just closing and sharing the results. So you can see the results here. Okay, you can probably see them. I can't see them for some reason. Let me see. Okay, very interesting. So I think most of you are here for the hints and tips from the part of the evaluators, and that's really our objective today. So we do want you to hear from the evaluators, from the people who will be reviewing your, rather who will be jury members during your pitch deck. And it's absolutely fine that some of you are here out of curiosity, and of course all of the above. I mean, there will be a mixture today, so we will have information on the calls, but the main focus will be the actual discussion with the evaluators. So I'll just be closing this poll and opening another one. So hiding this one. And then just a second poll, just to give us an idea about the audience, because what's very difficult for us is that we cannot see you. So our way to interact with you is mainly with the polls. So the second question is, did you submit a proposal for the first cutoff date? So the currently open call has 2 cutoff dates for those of you who are newcomers here. So the first cutoff date was earlier this year, where we announced the results back in January. So some of you already participated, and then there are some of you who are newcomers from having seen the registration. Okay, and I'm just seeing here that, yeah, you're responding, and it's very interesting to see that it seems most of you are here because you're interested in resubmitting, and this is something that we do want to encourage. So Okay, I think we have, no, still some voting. Okay, very interesting. Okay, so I'm just closing and sharing with you. So you can see the results here. Can you see them? Let's see. Yes, okay, very interesting. So it seems like the majority of you will be resubmitting a proposal, so you're aware of the call content and you probably want to hear about the changes that we have done for the second cut-off date, for which my colleague Marilena will be responsible to present. And some of you still want to decide whether you will be resubmitting, and then quite a big percentage of you are also newcomers. So this is very, very interesting to know. Okay, so just hiding that and going back to going back to the presentation. Okay, without further ado, we will start the presentation of the programs which will be delivered by my colleague, Ms. Marilena Barasquejo. I do ask Marilena to put her camera on and headset, of course. Okay, so Marilena, good morning. Marilena is the acting head of unit for research innovation projects at the RIF. So Marilena, I will be passing presenter rights to you right now, so you may share your presentation. Okay.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, yes, we can.
Great. Okay. So as Lisa already mentioned, I'm here to give you some brief information about the calls, and then present the evaluation procedure that we're going to follow for the second cutoff. We actually introduced some amendments to the procedure that we followed during the first cutoff, especially after listening to your suggestions and consulting with you and with our evaluators, of course. So let's start by giving a brief information about the calls. We have 3 calls that were announced earlier last year, in July, I think, last year. So the first call is the pre-seed that applies for early stage startups. And actually, it's aiming at developing innovative products and services with potential to penetrate the international market. The total budget for the second cutoff is €2 million, and the maximum funding for each project is up to €100,000. The duration of the project can be up to 18 months, and the deadline for submission is the 15th of May. Then we have a call for the more mature startups and newly established enterprises, the seed call, aiming to support rapid growth of dynamic and innovative startups to develop internationally competitive products or services. Total budget of 5.
Marilena, sorry to disturb you, but actually we can't see the slides.
Oh,
can you please share the slides again? Thank you.
I will try. Let's see.
Perhaps exit and then.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying, but okay, let's see.
I have to say that it's the first time that we have a webinar with such a big audience. So also for us, it's a bit of a challenge. So please be patient. Okay, so we can now see the slides.
You can now see the slide?
Yeah, if you go on full screen, then it should be fine. Great.
Is it okay?
Thank you. Yeah, that's fine.
Now it's okay? No.
Yes. Yeah.
Are you sure? Okay. So, okay, I was saying about the pre-seed call, and then we'll move to seed call that has a total budget of €5 million and a maximum funding of 500,000. Duration of the project up to 24 months. The deadline for submission is the 8th of May of this year. And finally, we have a call for innovative enterprises, the Innovate, that supports existing enterprises investing in research and innovation to develop innovative and competitive products and services with the potential to penetrate the international market. Of course, also facilitates mobilization of private funds and supports scale-up and rapid growth of the enterprises. The total budget for the second cutoff is €5 million, and the maximum funding for each project is 1 million. Duration of the project is 24 months, and deadline for submission it's the end of April. So that's all for the programs. I think most of you know the rules for participation for these calls. And I think I should move to the evaluation procedure for the second cutoff. It's going to be again in two stages. We'll start with the first stage. And here you can see the first major amendment to the evaluation procedure, that all proposals will be evaluated by 2 independent evaluators, and that actually applies to the pre-seed call as well. You know, in the first cutoff, the pre-seed proposals were evaluated only by 1 evaluator. So this is one of the big amendments that we introduced in the second cutoff. So proposals which secure an evaluation score of at least 12 out of 15 qualify to the stage 2 of the evaluation procedure. For second stage, the evaluation is carried out by an independent evaluation committee consisting of experts with business background. We have with us today some of our evaluators from the first cutoff. All members of the independent evaluation committee will have access to the full proposal, the evaluation reports, and the presentations that the teams will prepare for their pitching. So that's again a major amendment to our procedure. All the EIC members will have full access to the proposals well in advance before coming to the evaluation meeting. So, and we're going to also have a briefer for each proposal. And the briefer will present to the other evaluators the proposal before the hearing. So we're going to give to the team the ability to exclude evaluator before pitching. So you're going to have the names of the evaluators before entering the hearing room, and you can exclude an evaluator that you think there might be a conflict of interest with your idea and your team. We're going to increase the time for each team with the evaluator. At least 50 minutes for each proposal will be given. That's almost double the time that we had in the first cutoff. And this might also be increased to 70 minutes or even more. And the exact time slots will be announced later. We think it's very important to have time to present your idea and then have more time for discussion with the evaluators. A member of the team will be presenting the proposal. Doesn't have to be the evaluator, the coordinator. And the presenter can be accompanied by up to 2 other members of the team. Comments will be provided by the evaluators, will be written in the evaluation feedback form that will be given to you after the evaluation procedure is completed. Criteria and weights remain the same for stage 1 and for stage 2. And the decision will be a go, no go for each proposal. From what you can see here is a draft of evaluation comments. What we added here, it's all the criteria, excellence, added value and benefit, and implementation with the important key points under each criteria that the committee will have to comment and give strong and weak points for the evaluation. That's the first stage evaluation procedure, mentioning that there are 2 independent evaluators for all the programs. For the second stage, you can see here that the evaluators will have the full proposal and the presentations well in advance. And this is the slides mentioning that you're going to be presenting, a member of the team can present the proposal, it doesn't have to be the coordinator. And he or she can be accompanied by 2 other members of the team. And that's a sample of the evaluation report. Can you see that?
Actually, we can't. It's stuck again.
I'm very sorry, but I think the information is there. So
yes,
if we could, I think we can. That's all. I mean, there's nothing else for me to present.
Yeah.
So you can either share your presentation, Litsa. You can share my presentation if you want.
They already have it. They already have it in the handout. So
that's great. I mean, so I can answer any questions if there are any.
Okay, so I do invite questions from the audience right now. We already have some, Marilena, so I will be passing to you. Okay, so in the application, where do the evaluators expect to find the financials for the proposed business idea? Is it at the excellence section or at the impact section? So this is very specific to do with the proposal template, of course.
Okay.
So in terms of the financials,
there is a section that all the information about the companies is listed in the part A of the proposal. And also in the technical annex, they can elaborate more about the financial status and the state of the art where the business or the enterprise is. So all this information can be found both in part A and in part B of the proposal.
Okay, great. I do have some comments as well, which I will be passing on. So someone said, improvements to the process, well done. It seems we have good feedback. The question, another question coming in is, who will choose the briefer? So from the group of evaluators on the jury, who will be choosing the briefer? The proposal team or the RIF? What will the professional background of the briefer be? And during the presentation, it's another question. So let's just answer that first. So who will be assigning the briefer from the part of the team of evaluators?
Okay, the briefers will be assigned by the RIF. So the foundation will assign the briefers for each proposal based on their experience and their background, of course. And all evaluators have a business background. So it's very important to mention that the EIC, it's actually established from evaluators that have a business background.
Okay, so business background, the RIF will be choosing the briefer. And then the next question is, during the presentation, are the two other members of the proposal team, so during the pitch deck actually, are they eligible to present with the coordinator? So will it be a team effort? Of course, yes.
Yep.
Or maybe answer the questions which refer to their part of the proposal?
Sure, of course, yeah.
It's a combination of both, really. Yeah. So, I mean, if someone wants to present other than the coordinator, that's absolutely fine with us.
Yep.
But also we do want them to join in. Okay, and then
it's very important, I think, for all the members of the team to elaborate and talk about their idea and support the presenter.
Okay, we will talk about teams in a minute, actually, in the panel discussion. Yeah. So do keep that thought, I think. Next question is, will the panel of evaluators for the interview stage be the same as in the previous call, or will it be a new set of people?
I think it will be a combination.
Yeah.
We don't know yet, but I think it will be a combination, depending on their availability, of course. I think some members will be the same, and we're going to have some new members as well.
Okay. Next question is for large companies. I'm guessing large enterprises, perhaps, or no, actually companies going for the Innovate program. Okay, can 3 people come to present from the company or just 2? Well,
3.
We've answered this, so it's 3.
It's 3, yeah.
Is the national impact of an innovation a major criterion for the evaluation? So.
Yeah.
Again, we will discuss this actually in the panel discussion.
Yeah, I think it's very important to leave this for the evaluators, but it's important, yeah.
Okay. When will the briefing take place? Just before our presentation?
Yeah. So the briefing will be just before the presentation of the team.
Okay. Now, regarding the conflict of interest, which we have just mentioned that we've changed the handling of it, it is mentioned that there will be a list of the members of the committee outside the room. Why don't you send these names to each project member that will participate so as to have time to check conflict of interest? Just names on a list outside a room may not be enough information provided a very short time before the presentation.
Okay, it will not just be names of the team, we'll also have their affiliation, so they will know from which country they come and their companies and their business profile. So they will have some information, and I think there will be enough time to Google search if they want and decide if they want to exclude an evaluator.
Okay. So the next question is the pre-seed, the program second stage, will it be 10 minutes?
For the
pitch deck, yes.
Yeah, for the pitching, we haven't decided exactly the slot time yet, but it will be, I think, twice. Yeah, it will be more than the time given in the first cutoff. So
I think
10
we have
minutes at
5
least.
minutes. Yeah,
We had 5
minutes in the
minutes, so I
first.
think it will be at least 10 minutes for presenting their ideas.
Okay. Now, there are some questions, I just want to clarify this. There are some questions that are very specific to your company. So I will be addressing them privately to you. So I will not be posing them to Marilena or afterwards to the panel, just to let you know. So if it's something very specific for a specific company, we'll not be addressing it during the Q&A. So if subcontractors, can subcontractors be members of the team present at the presentation? At the pitch deck, I'm guessing the question is here.
Consultants will not be allowed to be present of the team. So subcontractors, depending on their role, I would say that it's better to have members of the actual team participating. But if you think that their role is very important, then yeah, they can be a member of the presenting team.
Okay, given the current situation with the coronavirus and likelihood that this will not be over anytime soon, I can see this coming. Any plans for second stage to be carried out remotely?
Yeah, we're examining that as well. Yeah,
exactly. So I mean, we are looking into it. We're exploring the tools that may be there. And yeah,
it's a major possibility. We don't want to postpone further the evaluation procedure. So if this goes on, we will try to have the second stage remotely.
Okay.
By
our spin-off. Okay. Sorry. Our spin-off startup companies. Do spin-off startup companies have the same treatment as startups?
Yeah.
So
of course.
Yeah. Okay, there was some inconsistency between the initial evaluation stage 1 and stage 2. How are you addressing the alignment in these two? So I'm guessing the question here is, if they received, for example, a high score at the first stage and then perhaps didn't secure the funding.
Yeah, it's the second stage. Actually, the proposals are evaluated at their own merit. The marks from the first stage evaluation are not taken into consideration, so the committee will decide, will give a go or a no-go to proposal depending on what they've read. Of course, they have the evaluation criteria and the evaluation reports from the first stage, so they're taking into consideration the evaluation reports of the first stage, but you have to consider that all the proposals that are in the second phase passed the threshold. So they are all in an excellent state. And so it's up to the evaluation committee to decide and choose between the proposals that they have in front of them. So yes, I can see that in some cases there are some differences, but I mean, you can see that even if we have choose a different evaluators for the first stage, you have different results. So.
Okay, so the next question has to do with the seed capital distributed to spin-offs coming out of public universities, and they're asking whether this is considered as double funding. So if someone who has received seed funding coming from a public university, if they come to our programs, is that considered double funding?
Depends. We have to check that. Yeah, depends. Depends on which activities, and if the seed money comes from public funding, then it could be considered as double funding. Yeah.
Yeah, we do some due diligence. So
yeah,
I think
and
this could
if
be
they actually, if the money come are for the same activities of the project, then yeah, it's double funding. But we will check that during the signing of the contracts. And we will decide whether we can exclude some activities from the project.
Okay. So now we have a comment on the evaluation reports that were received. So these were there were a lot of brief comments. The participant says, have you foreseen any changes to this feedback report?
Yeah, if you can see, if you can see from the evaluation report, actually we added the criteria, the evaluation criteria, and the committee will ask to comment for each criteria and give the weak and the strong points under each evaluation criteria. So yes, we foreseen for that as well.
Okay. And the next question, actually I have two questions that are pretty much the same. It has to do with evaluation criteria. So whether the evaluation criteria at the first stage is the same as in the second stage.
Yeah.
The answer is yes. We do have 3-4 questions on this. So, I mean, we're addressing all of them. Same criteria, the criteria is there. So you can see it on the call for proposals. You can see it in the guide for evaluators. And then next question, if the cost for subcontracting services is above 15,000 euros, I guess that any subcontractor cannot be mentioned in the proposal since this is against any procurement rule of the RIF.
Okay, that's there's no yes or no question depending on the applicant. So if the applicant is coming from the public sector, yeah, maybe cannot mention the subcontractor because they need to go with a public procurement procedure. But again, they can mention the subcontractor, and if they want, they mention that they need to follow a procedure for the selection of the final subcontractor. So it's up to them. But yes, for public enterprise, for public organizations, they need to follow the public procurement for the selection.
Okay, I will give you two final questions because I do want to proceed to the panel discussion. So although the evaluators at the second stage have business background, they had some technical comments as well. Does the second stage evaluation committee have the responsibility to recheck the technical parts as well?
Yeah, they have to evaluate the whole idea. Yeah, so they're coming from VCs, business angels, so they have experience in this field. They are business evaluators. They have business background, but again, we check the technical experience and their qualifications. So yeah, they check the whole idea.
I do want to mention that a lot of it, for example, the approach for conflict of interest, for example, and things like that, do come from the European Innovation Council. So we're following good practices that have been applied, that have worked. So, I mean, we do trust in the procedure. And a final question, as I said, I don't want to spend too much time on the actual calls. We want to give time for the panel discussion. So foreign research organization members, can they participate during the pitch deck?
Yes, if they think it's important for them to be part of the presentation, yeah, they can participate. We cannot say they cannot. I know it will be difficult for them to be part of the team, but yes, if the role is important, they can participate.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Magdalena.
Thank you. And if there are any questions left, we can answer in writing, or we can have also a short session if they want for answering specific questions for the procedures. I think it's better to give more time to the evaluators now. Absolutely.
I absolutely agree with you. I mean, having heard the changes, I do want to launch another poll and get some feedback from you. So I'm launching a new poll. Having heard the changes introduced for the second cut-off date, which of the following do you most agree with? So, do you think the overall procedure has notably improved? Has it remained the same? Did you prefer the previous format? Or did we just lost you after the introductory remarks? Which is an option, of course. So I'll just give you a couple of seconds to vote on this poll. I do see a lot of questions still coming in. So as I said at the beginning, any questions that we haven't addressed during the webinar, we do have on record, and we will get back to you in writing, also getting the feedback from the evaluators. Okay, so I'm just giving a couple more seconds to collect the answers. Very interesting. Okay, so I'm just closing the poll and now sharing the results that you can see now on your screen. So it seems 86% of you think that the procedure has notably improved. This is very encouraging for us because we have tried our best to really listen to you, to listen to what the evaluators have to say and address a lot of the comments. 12% think that the overall procedure has remained the same. No one preferred the previous format, so that's also a form of feedback, and it seems we've lost one person after the introductory remarks. hopefully we will get you back on board during the panel discussion. So actually, before going, no, I will pass on to the panel discussion. So I invite our evaluators to switch on their cameras, to unmute their mics. So please do join us. So I can see Anna coming in, and Oren, Stavriana, thank you. We do have more evaluators with us today. Okay, so there's Barak and Marco. We are missing one, but let's see if she manages to join us. So first of all, introductions. So I think I will start the way I see you on my screen. So I'll start with Ms. Anna Mai, who is a fintech leader and advisor at Creative Link Paytech, also a mentor for PwC Startup Collider, and a member of the European Women Payments Network. Anna, if you want to give us just a couple of words about yourself, we're all ears.
Yeah, hi everybody. Good morning, Kalimera. So yeah, I'm a fintech leader within PwC as well, and I have a lot of experience with working with both corporate clients, but also startup, especially fintech companies, innovative solutions, because we are running our own accelerator focused on the C market. Although we welcome international solution, I'm also part of European Innovation Council and some other accelerators when I'm advisor and mentor for startups. I recently joined an educational project which is central for finance, technology, and entrepreneurship when I'm teaching fintech open banking course. There are some also lecturer at the university.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Anna. And I will pass on to Oren, Mr. Oren Gerstein, who is the founder and CEO of Ideality Roads. Oren, we'd love to hear something from you, some words.
Good morning, Kalimera. In the last 20 years involved in the high-tech industry in the state of Israel, which some say consider to be either the second Silicon Valley of the world or the first, involved in establishing, managing, investing in more than 75 startup companies. And in the last few years, within the context of Ideality Roads, work with government around the world and enable government, nation, federation, states, and municipality to build the infrastructure to utilize knowledge economy. And knowledge economy is everything that we are referring to. Taking an idea and develop that to have a global impact as well as a domestic one.
Great, thank you, Oren. I then go on to Ms. Stavriana Kofteros, who is here with us today, Vice President of the Board of Directors of the RIF, and of course with extensive experience, having also served as jury member at the EIC. Stavriana, we'd love to hear you.
So the only reason I'm on this panel is because I'm serving as the EIC jury with my fine colleagues over here. So if you're wondering where we find these amazing people to be evaluators for RIF, they're colleagues on the EIC jury, so they're already vetted, if you like, from the EIC procedure. Amazing people, very strong on investing and business, so you can trust that process. And what we've been trying to do at RIF is align our programs with the EIC SME, the SME instrument as it is known, phase 2. So a lot of the new procedures and a lot of the way we handle evaluation is modeled after that. So that is very important to know, because it's also important for us, if a company gets a grant from RIF, to be able to continue in EIC, which is bigger money, obviously, and would like to kind of prepare companies to be able to attack that kind of funding as well, which is now, as you know, blended finance. So it is the ability to raise 2.5 million in grant and up to 15 million in equity. So it's a huge pool over there for you to attack. So I hope that our programs will prepare you well for that. And that is the reason we're aligning the programs as well.
Definitely. Thank you, Stavriana. I then go on to Dr. Barak Ben Avinoam. So Barak is a partner of Ben Hamu Global Ventures. Barak?
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay. So first, good morning and hello to my good friends from the jury members. I'm looking forward to see you all outside of the Zoom and WebEx screens and into the real life. So like Litsa said, I have an experience as a venture capitalist. I've been working in VC for the last 10 years. In parallel to that, I'm a jury member in the SME Instrument program in Brussels, and also in a similar capacity with the Israeli Innovation Authority. I think what I would be happy to share with you is how do jury members or investment committee members look at presenting companies when they come up for the presentation.
That's great. Thank you. And then last but definitely not least, Mr. Marco Sepa, who is the co-founder and CEO of the Global Enabler Corporation. Good morning, Marco.
Kalimera Cyprus, huomenta from Finland, north of Europe. Nice to be back to Cyprus, at least virtually. To give, first of all, something very personal, my married life started in Cyprus in 1988, in honeymoon. Wow. In Cyprus. So I'm mentally there with you right now. When I came back to Finland from Cyprus, from my honeymoon, I was running my own VC firm when Soviet Union fell in Russia and Eastern Europe for 10 years. Sold it, then went back to school, got my PhD in corporate strategy, and then I was doing some fun stuff in university for 10 years. Had my own PhD program, always trying to figure out how to build companies better, how to move the puck faster. Now the past 8 years I've been back to business, building Global Enabler. One of the key things here is that we privately here in our company, in our group, would like to see the funding process become from investor or financial focus to be more customer focused, so that we would have more work conducted by the teams themselves when it comes to actually assessing the company investment readiness. We of course are where we are with the best practice, and I do my best to help this process, and I see Cyprus having a great opportunity, well, ramping up your policies and practices that you could actually, who knows, be spearheading Europe rather than just following. But let's see where we together can be. It's great to be part of this wonderful team. Thank you for all.
Thank you so much, Marco. So I do want to start with the first question on your overall impressions. So what were your overall impressions regarding the procedure that you went through? Obviously, I mean, having also the experience of the EIC, I mean, what was your experience with the first cut-off date from the side of the evaluators? So we do know what the applicants felt. We also want to hear your opinions. Who wants to? Anna? Yeah, okay. Go for it.
I will start because we are just going in a row, and then I was in the pre-seat jury, so this is the first stage of the journey anyways. So my overall impressions were very good, very positive, because, you know, when we seen very short concise presentation, 5 minutes, that you know, just they were mainly well structured and just went straight to the point, and they were very insightful and explanatory in most of the cases. So the presentation themselves, they were quite good. And of course, what I was missing was usually, you know, just either the only one person of the team was present or presenting. So basically, these are like two things of the equation. One, this is how many members of the team is being present at the presentation, at the pitching session. I think it's very important to see more of them. And of course, you know, how many of them are presenting. So I think we will definitely follow up on this topic later on. So just to see the team spirit, just to see that team diversity. And we only had one evaluator for the evaluation report, so I can't say the evaluation. Of course, you know, evaluation reports, they are always helpful, but basically, you know, with one evaluator that will be changed anyways in the second cutoff, so it wasn't that clear always. So probably that's why we also have some discrepancies between remote evaluation and on-site evaluation. And this is always going down to the evaluators and the team who is seeing the companies and the solution. So basically, if you only have one evaluator, you can basically judge. So overall, it was very good. Although, you know, I will come up definitely with some specific comments and suggestions, especially for the pre-seed companies. Yeah, but I enjoy it very much.
Thank you, Anna. I see Oren is ready to speak. Go for it.
So I'll talk about the positive side of the entire process, from top to bottom, and then down this webinar, I think that we'll have enough opportunity to talk about the challenges that we have found down the road. If I'm, and I do have the privilege to see that with regard to other countries in other places in the world, and processes like that or similar to that I was either managing or running or being part of, and I think that we should be very proud. The entire process, from the moment that we have been recruited and the way that the information was presented, the way that the 3 days was met, extremely good. I'm very proud not take anything for granted. The quality of the idea that we was good. There was some better and some who are less mature for the stage of the seed in which I was part of. But in general, I think that the entire process was structured, managed in a very professional way.
That's great. Thank you very much, Oren. Barak, let's hear from you.
Yeah, just real quickly, following up on Stavriana's comment of making this process as a preparation for those of you who would be applying for the instruments in the EU. I think that the experience I've had in Cyprus was a little bit more friendly, a little bit more flexible and gentle. You should expect tougher conditions in Brussels. I think you should expect more strict adherence to timing, you know, stopping you in mid-sentence when the time goes off, etc. So I think it is good. It is a gradual process, but you should expect to have tougher conditions in Brussels.
Okay, so be prepared. Marco.
Yes, I was very curious, of course, to see the entrepreneurs come in and to get the kind of general vibe of like the Cypriot landscape of business creation. And I was positively, you could say, surprised or not. Well, I was very, very positive about you know, the outlook for going forward. Then when we look at the process, and there were a couple of processes that I wanted to see perhaps you know, we could change a little bit. One was that we didn't have much information of the companies. It was very limited what we had on the applicant. So practically in the jury, in the innovation jury particularly, you only have to rely then on the pitch and then the team that you meet, so you don't have that background. So that was something that I already see that you have changed that in going forward, which is very important to have to prefer one of the panelists to have a little bit deeper view on the company coming in. So there will be a more fair treatment for everybody who comes in. So I'm now mostly impressed of the rapid pace of how you are, you know, changing the evaluation. And I saw that the audience was also applauding you for taking very quick steps. So I think this is impressive.
That's great. Actually, I think we also have Victoria with us. Victoria, can you hear us? So she has just joined.
Yes,
Victoria?
I can hear. Yes,
Great.
yes, I can hear you.
Welcome. Can you switch your camera on? Would that be possible?
Oh, yes, of course. I thought it was
More
on.
interactive.
Oh, I don't know why I cannot switch on my camera. I tested.
I will just
Here
send
it
you a
is.
request now.
Yeah, now it's okay. Everything is done. Okay. Good morning,
Okay, so
everybody.
good morning. I think we still cannot see you, but just to let you know that Victoria is board and C-level executive for telcos, ICT, BPO, and fintech business. She's also a shareholder at Securities, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Victoria, we can't see you actually, but I'll just send you a camera request. Okay, can you just tell us a couple of words about yourself, Victoria, and then we'll proceed with the panel discussion. Yeah.
Well, yes, I'm at telecom, former C-level telecom executive, specifically for big telecommunication operators such as British Telecom, where I was director M&A for continental Europe at the time of the market liberalization. I set up a number of companies that went from 0 to a couple of thousand employees in 18 months. Setting up all the, discussing with the regulations, putting the right regulatory environments on behalf of the challenger, setting up the joint venture agreements with different shareholders, etc. Well, that was my job. I was running as well some of these companies. I was executive chairman of Orange in Spain and senior vice president Proximus, the former Belgacom for the international operations. Since 5-6 years ago, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm board member of number of companies, amongst other of CaixaBank Payments, which is one of the largest banks in Europe. So let's say I mixed both competencies from the financial sector and the communications, telecommunications sectors, which is in convergence right now. And I'm as well business angel. So I have my own portfolio of companies, invested companies, and I'm passionate of technology, investment, and gender equality.
That's amazing. That's really good. We will speak about gender equality later on, but just hold that thought. Actually, Victoria, we were discussing about the overall impressions that the evaluators have of the procedure. So
I was hearing, I was hearing that, and well, it is what Marco said, that I was very much pleased at how quickly you adapted, number one, the professionalism of the process, and how quickly you reacted and listened to the feedback we gave you on site. So the fact of adding a briefer is going to be, I think, a very good step, in particular for the innovation panel, as we are talking about €1 million funding. So we need to have the possibility to really give a good in-depth look at these files. And when we have the 20 minutes and 30 minutes question, it's just to clean the doubts that we may have about the file, and basically to see the team interacting amongst themselves. This is something we do all the time. Is for me is 50% of the decision. Do I believe that these people are really going to implement, capable to implement what they say? Because you know that the paper and Excels can hold everything, but afterwards it's people that have to put it to work. So I think this was a key point for me. And the other thing that I want to comment is that I was happily surprised of the good level of files that I saw during the panel. You are a small country in comparison, you know, with the Germanys and France of this world, and really the quality level was really very, very good. This is what I would like to comment.
Thank you so much. I think it means a lot for everyone coming from you. I mean, as evaluators, to hear that we have a really good level and high quality of applicants. Saviana, I don't know if you also want to add from the side of the RIF, if you like. I mean, your view on the overall procedure.
Well, obviously, it's amazing. What would I say?
Absolutely.
Of course, you know, but bless our own beards, as we say in Greek. Now, I really wanted to comment that first, number one, we're very honored to have such a panel with us, because I know the works from how the work from EIC, and I'm very proud to call them friends and colleagues. And Cyprus is very lucky to have such a panel, especially from the very beginning of the programs, of the innovation program. Number two, as I mentioned, we do try to align, and our purpose is for these programs to be a true stepping stones for Cypriot startups and innovative companies to scale up and internationalize. So you will notice in all the criteria, number one, our purpose is for Cypriot companies basically to conquer the world. if you remember Pinky and the Brain, to joke a bit about it. So truly, it's not about having innovations that have not been done in Cyprus before, because we're just 1 million people, that's it, period. You know, we need to scale companies. And to do that, we need to reach out to the European market, to the international market. And we want this type of program to be the stepping stone to achieve that. And of course, as Victoria mentioned, the team is particularly important. You will notice 2 criteria that are relevant to that, and it has to do with the motivation of the team and also the capability of the team. So who you choose to be with you when you present to the panel is important. It has to show that they're part of the inherent team, because it also shows there are things that you cannot describe. But imagine this, because the panel is acting as an investor. So when they see a startup company, and then, when a VC or an angel sees a startup company pitching to them for funding, they want to see that I have a team that is ready to go through the highs and lows, and a lot of lows in startup life, and will make it because they have the ability to pivot, to be clever about it. They are persistent, sometimes stubborn, but it's okay, because you need a bit of healthy stubbornness to go through, the tough times. So how you come out as a team and how you're presented to the evaluators, not just how you talk, but it's everything. It's the aura, it's the vibes that you give. It's exactly what provide confidence to the panel that you can make it, because they're going to take a bet. This is what we're doing. This is like very early stage money. It's public money, but they're used as angel money, if I may say, quotes unquote. And we're taking a bet for companies to succeed and internationalize, as it happens with angel investing anywhere in the world. So we will be, you'll be judged in the same way.
That's great. I mean, building on what Saviana has just mentioned, we do have an interesting question from the audience. It says, do you think that it's actually a good idea and team actually need the pre-seed funding, or should they just proceed with their business and not waste time for getting funds? What is your experience from working with successful companies? So should they bother with securing funding from our programs? I mean, it's quite controversial, but I do like the...
If they don't need it, they shouldn't raise it.
Exactly.
I mean, don't over-raise ever. But in a way, this is equity-free money, so we're not getting any equity for the grant we're giving. So if this will, the whole point of this kind of funding is to expedite. This is supposed to be rocket fuel. Maybe rocket fuel up to reach to the moon and not reach the end of the galaxy yet, but it is supposed to be rocket fuel. So it's very important if you want to move fast.
Marco, you wanted to say something?
I think it's a great question. And I would like to maybe put it in perspective, like, where is the company operating? What kind of solution to what kind of problem is the company delivering? That's like one aspect. The other aspect is the general access to finance for the team. All teams differ, all companies differ in the access to let's say, money around them. If you have access to private money, you have access to quick, let's say, smart money. Sometimes it's best to just go without any government funding. I mean, but then when you have a problem area or you have a solution which require public recognition and appreciation, and you need to kind of become part of more of the public domain, then I would say that, particularly if you don't have the access to private money, then it's a no-brainer. So it's a little bit like it depends on where you come from, where you aim at, and what is around you. So overall, it's not like fits everybody, but I think it's a wonderful opportunity to build your pre-money valuation.
Definitely. Or I think Oren wanted to say something, and then Barak.
I'll say it from the program point of view, and then in line that from two other angles. One of them is the government, and the other one is the entrepreneur. The aim of this whole initiative, these three initiatives in a different stages, is to deal with the market failure. And the market failure is very simple. It's identified. There are technologies which are too risky for the private sector to invest. They needed a bit more resource, so reducing risk and let the private take them in the speed of light. Now, if you're in this place, use the money. Mm-hmm. If you're in this place, either pre-seed, seed, or growth, or innovation, go and take the money. If this amount of money can create a significant milestone that will enable you to reduce risk and increase valuation, go for that. And do all the efforts to succeed. If this money is only going to use as a working capital, don't waste your time. Don't waste your time, because first, you don't need it. Second, the judge will understand that, and third, it will not succeed. But if you are in the first case, no doubt, do your best. And of course, this is a non-diluted, and that's one of the best options that could enable you to take your idea into a more mature place in which it will be relevant for venture capitals and corporate venture capitals and so on and so forth.
That's great. Thank you. Barak?
Yeah, so I hate to be the party spoiler here, and wanted to give you the perspective of active VCs. What has been going on in the past few weeks is really a nightmare from a VC/entrepreneur perspective. We have been going one by one through all of our portfolio companies, trying to assess their financial needs and potential additional sources for funding. It is clear worldwide, it is clear that most VCs are now primarily focused on internal portfolio needs first, before they would be open for new investments. And I would say that even within government bodies, like a recent discussion we've had at the Israel Innovation Authority was, we obviously have limited budget, so who should we give the money to? And part of the selection criteria is survivability of the company. So I would say, if in the past, I would encourage companies that are fundable to go get funding from VCs, be it in Europe or in Silicon Valley. I would say right now, you should get money from wherever you can. I would definitely go to government grants. I would go into binational programs, where you can get some of the funding from a different government that wants to cooperate with your national government. So generally speaking, I think the importance of your program and the importance of the SME instrument in these days are even more important than ever before.
Okay, thank you. I personally agree with that, but I mean, coming from you is for sure important. Now, the next question has to do with spin-offs. So we did see a couple of spin-offs coming to our panels. So in general, it seems the overall feeling from various spin-off companies that participated was that their challenges was as far as the structure of the company was concerned, and not necessarily the business plan. It seems the participant feels that it might be a form of discrimination having to do with startups. So in most cases, if the evaluator had the proposal documents, they would find all answers related to this. what do you have to say about this? I think I saw, I don't know if Oren wanted to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, I think that the previous comments before Barak made sense in the normal or a business as usual situation. Now we are facing, we need to think that we are I hear the echo. It's terrible.
Sorry, I'm just muting everyone else's mics.
Yeah. Now this lockdown of people, citizens in many countries, it's obvious that this is going to lead us to a crisis. And the question is how well we are going to recover from it, by when, or are we facing a recession? Okay, so the investment market is very keen at looking, and as Barak say, and unfortunately I have to agree with what he's saying, is that investors, private investors are looking at their own portfolios. Me personally have requested a review on business plan from all my portfolio, simply because what I approved by year end last year or beginning of this year doesn't make sense anymore, or we do not know. The real truth as well is that we do not know exactly what is going to happen. I mean, how hard is going to be the crisis afterwards and for how long time. So it is important to reevaluate the scenarios and build your plan B, C, etc. So from this perspective, well, I know that I've heard some investor in private markets saying, okay, we will only invest in COVID-19 targeted, activities, or companies that are a third of their normal valuation. Okay. These are comments. I don't say it's right or wrong, but this is kind of comments I'm listening. I'm listening as well in the market. So saying so, yeah, I would say that if you have a bright idea, in normal times, what we will do is, okay, we are going to fund companies that are going to have difficulties in raising money in private markets. With current situations, likely many of you with very good, bright ideas are going to have difficulties in raising money. Okay, so this is what I wanted to comment on respect, I think, that just the previous question. And concerning the current question, again, everything is a question of your capabilities of funding. If you are a spin-off with 100% owned by a company who has, large funding capabilities, well, this is something we will keep a look very close, because at the end, you have to think that you are competing. Many entrepreneurs think that, oh, my file is exceptional. They might be the case, but you are competing for money with other companies in the market, but as well for funding. So yes, my answer to the question right now is that yes, you should go and keep a look at these possibilities. And that concerning the spin-off, again, it depends very much on the structure. We want to ensure as well that who is getting the money at the end of the day, if it's the company or is the parent company. So these kind of things need to be very clear when presenting the file. Okay.
Okay, thank you. And I think Oren and then Stavriana. Oren?
I will try to refer to that, or to enlighten it from a different angle. And that goes the follows. From our perspective, and that was the logic that led us within the discussion, is that we are trying to see who is the beneficiary of this whole development. If this is the Cypriot citizenship, if this is the Cyprus economy, or this is just a pipe to shift resources to some offshore company. So if this is a spin-off could will be measured the same as any other company. But if this spin-off is owned by a Cypriot mother company, then it's all okay. If the IP and all the development will be related and owned eventually to the anchor, which is the Cypriot citizenship and culture and economy, then this is excellent. If this is a way to connect into a kind of a pipe that to inject those resources to some offshore legal structure and the money, not even if the money, but if the resources will then could be shifted outside of Cyprus, and that doesn't make any sense for us. And what we truly look is to create a huge impact for the Cyprus economy, and the way to do so is to measure the structure as well to the other element that we will talk within this discussion about the team business and so on and so forth. And connecting to that directly is the issues of the IP, the ownership of the IP. So if the IP is owned by a mother company, which is an offshore English, German, or whatever that is, this is excellent, but this initiative did not aim to support neither the German nor the English, in which they are just great. But this is not the essence of this initiative.
Okay, thank you. And I think Stavriana also wanted to mention something.
Yes.
We can hear you.
All right, excellent. So I'm guessing that this question comes from spin-offs from research centers or universities as well, or primarily. So in that case, well, it's a tough life, guys, in the sense that you will be judged exactly like everybody else will be judged. And it's in the same idea that if you were pitching to investors, you will also be judged exactly in the same way as a startup company would be. You're also a startup company, regardless of the fact that you're a spin-off out of a university, because the innovation was researched there, et cetera, et cetera. So you need to be able to structure the company in a way that is competitive. Otherwise, it's a no-brainer. The company will not scale. Therefore, no investor will touch it. So the same things that apply for a startup company apply for spin-offs in that sense. And it doesn't, if it's harder, we can discuss it on a different level and see that when we start the Innovation Academy at the RIF, how we can support that process and support you better. But the whole idea is it's a tough world out there. You're all judged by investors in exactly the same way. As you can understand, companies coming from the non-traditional, shall I say, ecosystems have it a bit harder than companies that come from the strong traditional ecosystem. So it is very important that we follow what we are supposed to follow and build strong companies, and that includes spin-offs. There's not discrimination and there's no bias. It's it's a Shark Tank out there, guys. So the bias, it's there in a way by the way you are judged, but it is what it is, and it's how everybody's judged.
Okay, thank you, Stavriana, for that. Perhaps Anna could answer this, despite the fact. Oh, sorry, Marco, go for it.
Yeah, it's about the spin-off issue, because this ties into something that is, for me personally, from my experience, my lessons learned, the most important thing. This is about business creation. So we are financing business creation, not business administration. It is to create something innovative, bring it to market. And like we all have been saying, it's then at the end about execution. Can the team execute the plan? But then it's not just that are these guys good managers, like they can manage well. No, they have to be entrepreneurs. They have to be owner managers. So now when we put things in perspective, there are three major structures of ownership that you can have. One is governmental, like a public sector ownership, where you have then people who work for the governmental organization. Or then you can have this kind of corporate ownership, private sector, where the ownership exists outside the company. And then last but not least, you have the entrepreneurial ownership structure, where you have the individuals who own the company are responsible. They are working inside the firm. This is not supposed to be so difficult, but it is sometimes extremely difficult. I personally have very tough time ever sending public money to any other kind of structure than entrepreneurial ownership structure, where majority of votes, responsibility kind of works inside the company. So this is my personal conviction. And I think when we say that we put everybody at the same sort of a situation, like in a Shark Tank or like in a business angel or VC negotiation, private best investors only invest in entrepreneurial companies. So here we somehow seem to lose this view. When it comes to spin-offs, if it's a university majority owned, I would never personally be supporting investment or funding of that kind of structure. Or if it's a big corporation, a spin-off where would not have entrepreneurial ownership, going forward. So this is very personal, of course, but it is not, of course, only like individuals' findings. I think many individuals share these findings. We just have a little knowledge base directly of this note. But I wanted to say this of the spin-off, let's say, issue. It connects with many other issues as well.
Of course. I mean, the next question has to do with the pre-seed program. So I don't know if Anna wants to answer this one. So despite the fact that in the pre-seed proposals, applicants were not required to submit business and commercialization plans since the concept or prototypes are in early stage, most of the jury questions during the first cutoff were focused on this sector. And the applicant would like to hear your opinion on this. So yeah, I mean, they were not requested in the actual proposal to elaborate on business and commercialization plans, and yet they were asked questions about this. Yeah,
I will take this one, that's for sure. Yeah, so just only one brief comment on the spin-off, and especially academic university spin-off and some, just companies, not even companies, but early ventures coming out from the academy labs. So basically, yeah, we treat them, equally as, just startups, because, what we've seen, especially for the pre-seed, was that like there were a lot of, just great scientific and research talent and capabilities, but basically there were like commercial and business drive skills lacking. So we've seen it a lot. I can only remember one, just situation when all this, just both technical, scientific research and commercial skills were well balanced and they were combined, but usually that's the vice versa. So that's the first thing. And I think it really relates to the question that was asked, that basically it's not required and we are not asking about any details, but if you are talking about the equal, just treatment of every startup, and even it's a pre-seed, of course we want to see the vision standing behind, just the solution. It's not only about the technical skills, it's not only about the technology or any, just the technical capabilities. Of course, that has to be teamed up with the commercial drive, with business drive. So we have to see how, just the teams, they think about the market, how they think about the competition, how they want to address it in terms of distribution, in terms of sales, how they want to create a business, what is the vision standing behind it, if they really understand the market they are in, if they really understand, just the commercial side of the equation. So that's why a lot of questions, and as said, we all have this business background, strong business background, just regardless the area we are in, like a technical area. So definitely we have to check upon all this, just commercial skills. And basically this is also just related to the teams. If we're looking at teams and we are looking at diversity, it's not only about gender, of course, it's not about age, everything, but of course we're also looking just at the diversity from the commercial point or angle, and also if there are other skills balance within the team, and commercial side is like a crucial importance. So it's very important to be able to address this question, because as said, for the pre-seed, I can only just confirm that we had a lot of just scientific research talent, but we were missing like just commercial writer.
That's great, thank you. I mean, sorry, Victoria wanted to say something.
Yeah, just a comment to add to what Anna was saying, which is, even it's a pre-seed, very pre-seed basis. We need, the juries need to understand, you know, your capabilities for implementations. But if you find out that there is a question that maybe doesn't, from your point of view, make 100% sense, as you can see, there might be very good reasons for that. But the other thing that we need to measure is as well your capability to react against the stress, okay? Because the startup environment is so stressful that we need as well, even, you know, from your team dynamics to understand how well you are reacting to the pressures that you anyhow are going to have afterwards in your day-to-day business life with your startup. Okay.
Okay, thank you. I will build on something that Anna said about gender balance, actually, and variety within the teams. What can we say about the teams? I mean, a very common comment that I think I heard in all of the panels was that we didn't actually have enough women coordinators. What do you think about this? Was there a balance within the teams? And not just gender, I also want to say about their, in terms of background. So, I mean, did we have like a variety? What is your opinion on this?
So if I can just come back to that, because I just raised this diversity issue, and of course I'm not talking about gender only, although we have a lot of, you know, male represented or male dominated companies. There were very few women-led or just women teams, females team in general, although we've seen, like, you know, at least 2 of them that were really just extraordinary and just excellent. But I'm talking about other diversity related points, like, you know, just age or background or experience or capabilities. This is what consists the entire team. We have to have the entire balance. We have to have this, you know, just interrelation, and we have to have the combination of different skills, experience, even in terms of age. It's good to have, like, you know, young people if they are, you know, scientists, and of course academic background people, but definitely, you know, just in terms of age, just bringing, you know, value of your experience to the team. So building, you know, as an entrepreneur, you know, just different companies, like a serial entrepreneur, that's really great. So we can just simply, we are looking through diversity lenses, but, you know, just looking through, like, or from different angles, not only through gender perspective.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to comment on this?
Yeah, I would like to say that yes, I agree with Anna. We seek for diverse teams. It's very well proven that are the most effective teams are diverse teams. And so female represent 50% of the humankind, who, by the way, have given birth to the other 50%. So of course, we are thinking about these are small companies. It's a handful of people, and we might understand that if you are you have 4 or 5 employees, that maybe most of you were friends, you gathered together, and this might happen. But all of this is as well a question of skills. Okay, if you have your company growth plans, if you need additional skills that might be, for example, in the international side, for when you are seeking for the scale up, for example, well, which will be the skills that you have, the international experience, where are these skills, or if you are planning to manufacture a product, would you have the competencies in your team, or how you are going to fulfill it? And this is to ensure that your rollout plan is going to be really effective. And in terms of diversity, okay, if you are already a company of 30, 40 people, well, and there is no one single female, as I saw once, and this maybe was the most extreme case of a team of 20 researchers, no females, but the innovation was about breast cancer, which affects 98% of the situations to female, and you don't have one single female, well, in your team. Okay, this was a very extreme case, but let's say that in normal times, we might understand that if you are a handful of people, that you might have problems in still, you know, for hiring a much more diverse team. But what will be important is that you fix the tone. What are your plans in the future? What is your attitude about it, and how you intend to fix it in the future? Okay.
Marco, and then Stavriana, and then Barak.
Yeah, I mean, I can echo my colleagues here. Diversity is known to be a great driver for creativity, particularly, and also sustainability, and depending on particularly of the, let's say, customer, the market segments you are looking at, adding all kinds of diversity is known to help women particularly. But also I want to highlight not so much highlight the fact that, well, Finland here up in north of Europe, we have all the 5 leaders of government today in our government. They are all women, so we have all women leadership in our government. This is very historic, I think, on a global scene. Okay, so we have cultural differences. Also, countries evolve or come from different, let's say, backgrounds. And I want to highlight that now we are in looking at Cyprus, which has very strong culture going back thousands of years and things like that. So I think, you know, what we are saying here should be taken exactly as perhaps like a mindset issue and attitude, but not such that to have like fake teams or like to kind of like struggle with adding like somehow against odds a woman, you know, if it's not like fitting. But I would just like to say that that should be the direction, and there has to be the attitude, and we want to hear the companies kind of even perhaps saying that they struggle to have more diversity rather than bring a forced right now. So I wanted to say that. So I think it's an important issue.
Thank you, Marco. Stavriana, you wanted to say something? Yep, speak up. I've unmuted. Wait, we can't hear you, Stavriana. Can you check again? Okay.
Oh, finally. I wasn't able to unmute myself. Thank you. To add to what everybody has said, because I agree on this, I just want to mention that from now on at the EIC, the SME instrument, they're taking special attention for diversity, especially for women in important positions. So it's not just having a woman on the team, but having it on the C level or a board level, important position. So if, you know, giving you a kind of like a heads up that this is something that will be taken into account at EIC Accelerator SME Instrument project. So have it in mind as you go forward as well.
Okay, thank you. And I think Barak also wanted to mention something. Barak?
Just want to say that we've been speaking about diversity, but for me, diversity is not only men versus women on the team. Many times I see, I would say, identical resumes, so to speak, where let's say 3 scientists or 3 engineers, and they're like arbitrarily dividing the work amongst themselves. Who is the VP sales, who is the VP marketing, and who's the VP of engineering? And I would say diversity for me means that you would have all the skill set in the team, different backgrounds, different genders, etc.
Definitely, thank you. Now, the next question is very interesting. So during the panel hearing, we saw members of the panel Googling to find out more about the company, the products, etc. So a lot of the information that they were seeking was in the proposals. Do you as evaluators think that you would have, well, it's best now that you will have access to the proposals? So what is your reaction to this new change that we have adopted? So you will now have access to the full proposal. Will you still be Googling? That's another question. Yeah, who would like to, Marco or Anna?
I just wanted to say 2 thumbs up for the access to the full proposals, and particularly the briefer. One of us would be looking more deeply into it. Obviously, there may be still some Googling, you know, it is not that necessarily, it shouldn't be like to find out the basic stuff, but rather to Google something, maybe whatever claim there is made in the pitching situation. So maybe there is still some Googling by the colleagues, but hopefully for kind of like important stuff that emerges in the the pitch.
Okay, Anna.
Yeah, if I can add something to that, because yeah, definitely Googling is not about any important stuff because we can prepare that beforehand. But usually, you know, during the presentation, at least, you know, just in my case, in case of my committee, we can Google for two, like, you know, just reasons. One is we're just, sometimes we're looking at the company's website, if they claim any demo and anything, you know, just if their website exists at all and how is it positioned. And sometimes there are some names coming up, you know, just the names of the competitors, and yeah, we are looking at the competitors and the names that are being given on any other additional information that can come up, especially during the Q&A session, not the presentation itself. So I think this is the main reason for doing that, and not everybody is doing that. So that's quite like a really just site Googling stuff.
I would like to say that
Yes.
if the information you have put in the file is accurate, well, no problems that we are Googling it.
Yeah, definitely. Now, the next question has to do with the significance of this second phase of evaluation, so the significance of the pitch deck. How should applicants interpret it if a pre-seed application, or any application really, I think it applies to all, received an excellent score in phase 1, so over 14 out of 15, and did not pass during phase 2, so they haven't secured the funding? Does it mean, for example, that the presentation was not good enough? Yeah, Anna?
Yeah, may I start with this one? There was, like, you know, just the question about pre-seed, but definitely it does concern every of the stages. And I think, you know, just it happened to us quite often. I have to say that there were, as I said at the beginning, there was a kind of discrepancy between the evaluation report and the, you know, just the final report that we have after the pitching session. And first of all, for the pre-seed, we only have one evaluator. So as I said, that must be, or that may be a kind of reason for that, because, you know, there is no like independent, of course, the evaluator is independent, but we don't have like a second opinion on that. So only have one.
Yeah, Anna just mentioned that we now have, yes.
In the second, I'm talking about the previous stage, the first cut. For the second, I know we will have two. So probably it will improve, because then, you know, you will have more balanced mark, at least, you know, this is what I hope for. But the main reason for that, regardless if it's pre-seed or any other, you know, stage, is first of all, we are seeing the team, and as we all agreed on, and as we all, you know, just can confirm, the team is like at least 50, not even sometimes more % of the entire evaluation. Not only people that are presenting there, but of course, yeah, the commitment, the motivation, the story behind it, the vision, the ability to deliver everything. And of course, this is not only about the presentation. It's like, you know, it used to be 5 minutes, now it will be 10 for the pre-seed. But then, you know, it's about the Q&A session as well, how they, you know, address the questions, how they can, you know, just answer the questions, how they react upon the questions, all this stuff. So the T component is crucial. And I think that basically the team component can just change the entire evaluation. And this is not only for the RIF, this is also for other accelerators, VC, you know, because, you know, on the paper you can see everything, it can look perfectly. I'm also, you know, evaluating companies, you know, just remotely for, you know, accelerator, PwC accelerator, also other programs. And sometimes, you know, it looks really great on paper, but then you see the team, you see the presentation, you can ask like precise question. And then the second factor, which I would say it's a secondary one, but still quite important, is that, of course, you know, for the evaluation, you have like 1 or 2 experts, but then you have the entire like 7-people committee evaluating the certain proposal during the pitching. And I think this is, you know, just this really gives extra or brings extra value, because we can just combine the business experience, the VC experience, the investment experience with the technical experience, and we can just come up with a common evaluation of the solution. And that's why we have this differences. So just it really brings a lot when you see it's like a prevailing factor when you see the company speaking.
Okay, Oren?
For us at the seed panel, it didn't happen a lot that the high score was unqualified, and a very, very low score was qualified with high scores. I think that was around the average. There was some cases. Having said that, I think that we should all bear in mind that this is two different measurements. I don't think that we should even try to compare with them. It's like to compare one person into a crowdfunding or crowd thinking capabilities. Putting one judge separately even in two stages in front of a startup company and having a panel of 8 people that coming from different backgrounds, different nations, got perspective, got experience, got understanding, are very highly connected to the industries, to the markets, to the VC industry with regarding to trends that following that. I don't think that this is even a fair game to say that we are comparing this one against the other. I think that this is a very well structured process that you have succeeded to build within the process of evaluating those ideas, but it's not something that we should consider as neither a problem or something that should be fixed. It's part of the evolutions of analyzing, and the panel is the last part of the chain that giving the stamp, and they are looking on different things. They are seeing the teams other than papers, and more than everything, it's like 8 against 1, and 8 which come with international experience and understanding that can enriching one another, as opposed to a one-on-one, the company versus the evaluators. So in my perspective, I don't see that as a huge problem within the systematical mechanism of the evaluation. For me, it's very natural.
Okay, thank you. Now, the next question has to do with the Chief Technology Officer. How would you react if the Chief Technology Officer was actually a subcontractor? I mean, if they were experienced, I just want to say here, because a lot of people are asking about the nationality in the questions, if the nationality matters, and the answer is no. As long as the company is based in Cyprus, this is what we're looking for. So nationality, please keep in mind that it doesn't matter. But how would you react if, yeah, Barak?
Yeah, I think for me, it is quite clear. I'm constantly looking at technology companies, and technology know-how must be a core capability of the company. This is not, in my mind, anything that you could subcontract. Again, I'm not against cost cutting by subcontracting some peripheral activities in the company, but the key know-how must be part of the key team of the company, in my mind.
Okay, and Oren also wanted to say something.
Just to take it from this point forward, and even to enlighten it even more. Startup companies should act clean, and startup companies should be very efficient. And it's always working with subcontractors. It's in most cases cheaper and in a linear way than to build a full R&D team. Having said that, even in order to subcontracting part of that development of some of the elements which are the core technology of the company, you need to be a technology-oriented guy or an expert within the field, and the knowledge should be within the company. And even if we will give discount on that, and we'll say that this truly doesn't matter, they will not be able to follow the second stage and getting into a VC. Any VC that they will come to them will unqualify them on a second if they didn't, or if the core technology is not existing within the company. And I'm separating between the ability to have the core technology within the company with full commitment as a CTO in a form of a CTO, and have some of the development, large part, small part, in a subcontracting way, rather than to develop that in-house. So it's mandatory.
Thank you, Oren. I don't know if anyone else wants to add anything on this.
I would like to say,
yes, Marco.
It's easy to echo Barak and Oren in in the classic sense of CTO being the core like keeper of the treasure box in a company. I, however, want to address very strongly that we are in a new world, and also the fact that when we want to build more customer-oriented companies, like market-oriented companies, maybe the core competence of a firm is in the way how you speak, how you touch, how you find, how you acquire and keep your customers. And in those kinds of situations, it is possible that a company can even underscore their strength of being in the customer interface and create something of great value there, and then outsource let's say a platform or something. This is not easy sell to VCs, and it will not be for a long time. So in that way, I want to again echo Parag and Oren, for this to be a responsible comment. I say yes, CTO should be in-house, but on the other hand, when you are looking at the merits of the company, and if your team is commercial, build that commercial team, and also in the current time and going forward, we should build more partnership. There should be more partnerships between companies that actually build the winning offerings. But again, this is tough for VCs to finance. Who are you financing if there are 2 or 3 companies doing things together? So financier investment orientation is not going to cut it going forward. This is where I think we need to create more, let's say, customer focus and market orientation, and put the perspective into building those winning solutions. It's easier said than done, but not everything, I think, is black or white here anymore.
Thank you. Oren?
Marco, I cannot agree more. I cannot agree more. Having said that, I think that what you have said is mandatory and not enough. This is true, but from my perspective, this is mandatory and not enough. The ability to communicate, to collaborate with others, this is great. But eventually, what we know is that competitive capabilities is the things that are putting one in front of the other and giving the first place. And having that totally being developed outside by someone else could work out in some light apps technologies, not basic science, not applicable science.
Oh, right.
Fully agree.
Okay, thank you. Now, though this is a specific question, I think it may apply for others as well. So I'll just sort of transfer it to you in a different way. So there was a team that participated in the Innovate panel, actually, and they did well. They scored well during the first phase. However, it seems they didn't secure the funding because it was suggested in the evaluation summary report that there was a possible overlap with an existing project that they have. They say, obviously, we went wrong somewhere. How could we improve this? So if you can see, for example, that they have already secured funding, either from the RIF or it could be the European Commission, for example, how should they handle this when they stand in front of the jury and discuss, for example, existing funding? And I mean, what about overlaps? Marco?
If I start on this, it is of course always case by case, and I try not to perhaps think of, if I remember right, this particular case, but try to be more generic in my comment. Typically, when we are looking at companies trying to raise $1 million for public funding to do a major undertaking, considering the company's size and development stage, if there is a similar funding ongoing for the time being, and then somehow the company is just, let's say, successful in also reaching this kind of hearing in another funding situation or funding, let's say, scheme, maybe, well, my personal viewpoint is that the safer bet is to deliver first on the current funding scheme. If you have public funding ongoing, one should show that you can demonstrate, you can perform, and then once you have good results from a previous public funding, then you can raise another round. So my personal kind of recommendation is that it is very tricky, and I think there will be a challenge to convince any panel by, let's say, a younger company, smaller company who already has significant funding on going from public sources to raise a parallel project.
Okay, does anyone else want to add? Okay, next question. Do you evaluate the project only or the company itself as well? So in the presentation, do you want to hear about the company, our other achievements, so on and so forth? So, I mean, is it just about the project or do you look at the company as a whole? This is the question. Barak?
Yeah, so I think what you should think is that everything that you are saying will be used against you. And that, in my mind, in the real life, not only in the panel meeting, the way you are managing yourself in the room, the way you are dressed, the way you are managing your time, the way you are communicating with your colleagues and with the audience. So that is very generic statement. And specifically to the question, I would say any kind of information that would make me feel that you are more mature and you have a greater potential definitely should be mentioned. And at the same time, if there are some weak points, I would address them head on and inform the jury member or the panel members that here's something that we know that needs to be fixed and we are working on fixing it, or here's how we are going to fix it. Don't let us find it out in the Q&A session and then think that you might be hiding it from us. So I would just say be open and show us that you know what you want to achieve and what is still missing, and definitely if there's any highlights, don't fail to mention it.
Okay, Anna?
Yeah, so basically, even for the very early stage companies, even for the pre-seed, of course, there might be not a company, they might be under organization. So we still have such situations, but definitely if you have any experience from the previous ventures or previous companies, if you're a serial entrepreneur, so basically we're just evaluating the project itself, but it will be really just relevant to mention that your experience as an entrepreneur or, you know, just any you know, previous experience, even from the corporate world. So that's why the company, you know, just factor might be, you know, just really important, as said before.
Okay, and actually relating to this, how important is the ownership scheme within a company? I mean, if I'm not mistaken, this was a question that came up in almost all the sessions. So, I mean, should applicants themselves present the ownership scheme, for example? Should they talk about the shareholders? I mean, what are you as evaluators expecting to hear about this? Marco and then Oren.
Yeah, I already, in the spin-off question, I already shared my perspective on this. So I just wanted to start by saying that when it comes to business creation, ownership is everything. Ownership is absolutely everything, because ownership defines who is responsible for the task at hand, who is responsible for taking the solution to market. And when we are financing entrepreneurial companies, or supposed to be financing entrepreneurial companies, then it's supposed to be entrepreneurs who are responsible. That means owner managers, individuals who will be responsible for the daily activities, the daily action, the taking of the new business to the field is crucially important. So I just want to highlight one thing, which is the borderline case here. When we have fine SME companies established, like family companies, SME firms, which are entrepreneurial, privately owned, and these companies have spin-offs, have new projects, and they sort of incubate new entrepreneurs. Maybe from the executives, you know, people emerge to be owner managers. And this is a situation where I think there were many companies who could have done perhaps a better job in explaining the entrepreneurial incentives that they're introducing. So there is like a phasing, like, you know, if you are an entrepreneurial firm already, like owned by owner managers, run by owner managers, and now you are presenting something of a project, and you have some folks who are responsible, but then you're vague on explaining what the ownership incentive, what the responsibilities there, you should do much better job. But if you are government or university owned project where majority is owned by institutions, I predict tough times with any panel.
Okay. And then I think Oren wanted to say something, and then Victoria.
For me, ownership is crucial. Ownership is coming with the connecting directly to liabilities and to commitment, personal commitment, professional commitment, and so on and so forth. For me, ownership is part of the DNA of corporate governance that should be developed within this startup company. So if the ownership is a private ownership, and this is as like was mentioning by Marco, started to be spin-off of one family office, and each one of the individuals just have kind of a working agreement with the startup itself, and there is no incentives and no personal commitment to work 25 hours a day, 8 days a week, then for me this is kind of a truly red light. It should be a very and the entrepreneur should be able to present it and to answer in a very clear voice, and not to try to hide behind all kind of sentences and statements in which we find out in our panel when they've tried it, in which we then understand that they're trying to hide something else. So yes, ownership should be part of the slides, and maybe one of the first slides within this presentations.
Mm-hmm. Victoria also wanted to say something.
Yeah, it's just to complement what my colleagues Oren and Marco say, which I fully agree. I mean, ownership is essential, is a key point, and this is to add to what they have said. In real terms, this is about ensuring the loyalty as well of the key employees and the key management, basically. If what we are evaluating, would this team have the right skills, you know, to implement and to take this company to success, we need to ensure as well that this team is going to remain in the company. So when you see topics at the executives, the CEO or so, we have seen the case where they have 0 shares in the company. Well, which is the guarantees that these people is going to stay in the company in 1 year time. What is going to happen in such a case? So it's about ensuring that the skills that you have defined, that you have recruited, are going to remain to accompany the company to success, and that by the way that the team share the success of the company. That's why most of the time we have requested if there was a share incentive plan for the key employees, for example. And this is a key element of success. Okay.
Thank you. We touched upon having a parent company, for example. So there's a question that specifies, for example, if they have a parent company from abroad, they give the example of the US here. All the IP is owned by Cyprus, and all R&D does happen in Cyprus and is meant to help the Cyprus company grow. But the US parent company is meant to help them grow internationally. How would you view this as jury members? Oren?
I would grade them 11 out of 10, and will wish them all the success. From my perspective, this and the test for that is very simple. What we need to make sure is that the development has been done within a Cyprus legal entity, and that the Cyprus legal entity is own the IP. Once we have done that, every actions that will take place in the future, an exit, an M&A, whatever that is, we are securing that the beneficiary will be the Cyprus economy. This is what it is. If we are starting with a Cyprus legal entity, but the IP is owned in some offshore company, then this is where things started to be very complicated, and eventually we will know that the Cypriots will not be the beneficiary, because the money will flow out somehow outside the tax systems and will not contribute to the local economy. So for me, the test is very simple. If the legal entity is a Cyprus one, and if the IP is owned and owned or licensed, which for me is the same, licensed with exclusivity and irrevocably is like owning. It's the same thing. It's very common when we're talking about basic science and applicable science. Then for me, they should get 11 out of 10. If neither of this case is the situation, then we should highly consider if to support them at all.
Great. Marco and then Victoria.
Yeah, very quickly. Again, easy to echo Oren on at least global sense of business creation. But let me also say this is much of a policy issue for us evaluators. We need to be briefed by the Cyprus government on how to pay attention to the let's say the actual nationality of the company we are funding. Whether, let's say, a future IPO will be an IPO of an American company in Nasdaq, or whether it will be an IPO in AIM in London, or maybe in Helsinki Stock Exchange, Nasdaq Helsinki there. So whether you want us to finance companies that clearly are, let's say, Cypriot companies, this is a kind of quite a difficult thing, because then you can have Cypriot people owning companies that are like domiciled outside Cyprus, and maybe that's the best way for Cyprus also to build those unicorns and make those global companies, like Stavriana was early on, I think, encouraging us to look at. So personally, I have no objection to finance companies that are domiciled elsewhere, as long as they are clearly Cypriot companies, owned, built by Cypriots, and as long as, like Oren said, minimum requirement must be that the IPR is owned at least by a Cypriot entity. So this is a little bit of a policy issue, and I think we will have good instructions from the government or the RIF before the next round.
Sure. And then I think Victoria and then Barak.
Yeah, just to quick compliment to Oren and Marco's comments, is that yes, these companies and this funding is aimed to foster the local economy / European economy. And my advice, so you can have your legal headquarters in Cyprus afterwards, if it's more convenient for your commercial development. I mean, all of this needs to make sense at the end, okay, in terms of your plan and how you are going to provide wealth for Cyprus. And as Marco says, this depends very much on the policies that the Cyprus government is going to issue, and we will follow the instructions. But I would strongly suggest that they ensure that this funding or this commitment remains for a period of time, okay, that we provide, if this is the objective, and if this is the objective, to ensure that this is not a land and go, meaning that I provide you the funding and you have the obligation to remain a Cypriot company for a period of time. In other fundings, I've seen situations where, you know, you set up a legal entity, you develop, you hire people, and 1 year and a half afterwards, you go elsewhere, and wealthness goes somewhere else, the taxes, etc., etc. Okay.
Thank you, Victoria. Barak, you also wanted to comment.
Yes, I just want to share with you the Israeli experience. For the last 20-some years, many of our startup companies are establishing themselves in the United States, in Delaware, and then establishing a subsidiary in Israel for the R&D, having the IP in Israel. I think we have seen waves where in the very beginning, most of the companies were in Delaware, and then most of the companies actually switched to be having the parent company in Israel and then only a subsidiary in the US. I would say this goes beyond. This is more like not a philosophical question. It's more like a business question. and you should do what is good for your business, regardless of the grant application. The grant is a tactical element, which is a short-sighted factor. You should ask yourself on the long term what is really better for your business. And then if it fits the program, great. If it doesn't fit the program, too bad. But on the overall strategic issue, you should take that decision based on the really important factors, not the less important factors.
Thank you. Now, the next question has to do with the fact that during the pitch deck, we don't categorize into industry. So this seems to affect, from the part of applicants, it seems to affect their ability to compete. So they give the example, so if a biotech company that is involved in developing therapeutics, which takes years to develop and commercialize, can actually compete with a software company that will likely have a product in a few months. I mean, do you take this into account? So depending on which area, which industry they're in, when listening to the pitch deck, is this taken into account?
Yes, well,
yeah.
Yes, this each industry have its own cycles and business models, and we can compare a software company with a biotech that we know that might have IPs, which is much more difficult to obtain in the software industry, much more longer cycles for research and development and a go-to-market. So yes, this is part of the things that we take into account. In which industry are you? So we appraise the files individually, taking in consideration all these elements, basically.
Okay, and Oren also wanted to say something, and then Anna.
I think I can say that on behalf of all these three panels and all of the the judges together. The judges are equipped with the experience to analyze different ideas which come from different verticals or different industries. What we are trying to assess is not the importance or the profitability of a software company versus a pharma company. What we are assessing is if the amount of money that you are asking for is going to enable you to achieve a significant milestone and reducing risk. If the answer is yes, then this truly doesn't matter if you are playing in the biotech, medical devices, IoT, or software company. So the judges in all of the panels, which for them it's a simple practice. They know how to do that, and they do that on a sector by sector and on a case by case, and trying again to validate if the amount of money fits for the task that will reduce risk dramatically and increase valuation without any connections to the industry itself. And lucky for us, the three panels were so diversified and so rich that I can say that that at least this answer was answered properly in each one of the discussions that I was aware to.
Thank you, Oren. And Anna.
I can't agree more. So just to add briefly, because we don't compare companies to each other and we don't evaluate them based on that, we don't build any internal ranking. What we can only compare the companies towards, the competition and the companies in the, just in the same industry. So that's the first thing. And even the very early stage, early ventures for the pre-seed, we addressed it very well because we had like a whole range of companies, starting from the floating greenhouses to a marketplace for the shipping industry or purely software companies, IoT and so on. So basically, yeah, we do understand the specifics of certain verticals and we just address it properly.
Okay, thank you. Next question, though it's specific, I think I'll try and generalize it so that we are able to give an answer. If you see a startup company, for example, that has allocated subcontracting to a marketing agency with an international presence, so the actual startup does not have an international presence themselves, in the first phase, in the first cutoff, they did not secure the funding, basically because they had a lack of international presence, the distribution channels, and this ended up being the reason why they did not secure the funding. Should they resubmit, or should they expect the same outcome? So again, subcontracting a lot of the funds in order to get international presence through a marketing agency. What is your opinion on this? Barak?
Yeah, so this seems to be a very specific question for a specific company, but I would try to generalize my answer, and I would say, like before, I would like to see more of the core competency of the company to be part of the company. Now, if generally speaking, it is clear that some activities are being outsourced to subcontractors, including some marketing activities. So I would say, if I would feel that most of the IP and the core technological innovation is done internally to the company, then the fact that they would be outsourcing their marketing activities would not be a big issue for me. But if I would feel that many of their activities are being outsourced and there's very little there, so in a sense there is a project coordinator that coordinates all kind of outsourced activities, then in that respect I would probably not feel comfortable financing that company.
Thank you. Oren?
Just following Barak, from my perspective, marketing activity that's been done by subcontractors is equal to any business collaboration that could be done with channels to market, business collaborations, white labels, and so on and so forth. So if this is within the mainstream of go-to-market strategy of those companies, then I don't see any problem with that. Eventually, companies from Cyprus will be able to conquer the world if they will be B2B oriented rather than B2C, because this is one of the core elements of being a small and isolated island. So in that sense, I don't see any problem. But again, if that's coming back to the looking at the budget and seeing that all the budget is dedicated to subcontractors on a variety of fields, then the answer is no.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Yeah,
go for it.
Just to complement it, at the end, what we are looking at is that if your business plan and your rollout plan make sense, have you properly matched it, your numbers, your projections with the skills? Are these skills the strategic internal ones? Do you need to subcontract? And yes, this can be marketing, but at the end, there need to be a coherence in between your business plan and the rollout plan. So the fact that you are going international and you do not have subsidiaries, hey, this might even be a very good thing if you do not have the resources to do it. So you need to subcontract it, okay? If this makes sense in your rollout plan, this is the way we will judge it.
Okay, thank you. Now, the next question I think has to do with good practices and bad practices, and I really want to hear from you on this. So the question is, what is the most important part then for the pitch deck? Is it go-to-market strategy? Is it the commercial track record? Presence of the CEO, for example, or the team, the diversity of the team, or is it something else? So, I mean, I just want to hear from you. I mean, what are the best practices that we can provide today and discuss? Victoria, I saw you raising your hand. Yes.
Yeah, I think that yes, there are some hints that some of it already we mentioned it. So taking as a principle that we evaluate teams, don't be represented by just one manager or director of the company. Okay, we need to see how the team's dynamics are, and the quality of the team. It is important for the CEO to be there unless there is a very, very good reason for it. He or she is ill or whatever. And saying so, if you come 3 of you to the pitch, ensure that each team member has a voice during the pitch. So if it's the CEO coming with the CTO, with the commercial marketing director or chief scientist, then it shouldn't be a solo presentation. Ensure that each one of you have a voice depending on your competencies, either during the pitch, when answering the questions and whatsoever. Okay. And my other recommendation would be that keep your answers short, be concise. Do a rehearsal previously. Try to think about which questions you might be answer. As all jury members might be wanting to ask questions, and sometimes many questions. So this will be my advice on that point.
Thank you, Oren. I think I saw you.
I think that's opening a door to a discussion of about at least 3 days, but we don't have the 3 days. So I'll try to touch the most important kind of a suggestion. What we have found out what we have saw in our panel was in some cases even some bizarre situations. So the first thing is for the team to understand that they are coming to a show, and they should do reversal. They should practice. They should stand in front of a mirror and they should practice that time and time again. If you come and ask for someone to give you a million error, you should work out on that. This is not something that you're coming and doing a spontaneous show. This is one thing. Dividing the messages and the capabilities to communicate within the team that you've brought. So what we have saw a situation in which there was a team, only one person speaks. When the other one just opened his mouth, and that was on the last moment, we understand that he was the one that was needed to speak and not the other way around. So make sure that you understand, make sure that the person who presents is capable of being or having the capabilities to communicate and to speak clearly and to be able to transfer the knowledge. More than that, the issues of answers and questions. What we have saw is the majority was basic science and applicable science solutions, engineered complicated ideas. And we find ourselves getting lectures from a person. We don't need the lectures. And when we've asked to shorten the question, it seems like someone was insulted. Don't be insulted. We are all coming from a different background. This is what we are doing for a living. We have asked simple questions to get a simple answer. We don't need the full lecture and the backgrounds to understand what you have been asked. This is the first thing. The second thing is about aligning your messages to the time constraints. Many of the entrepreneurs that we have saw was researchers, and which their common practice is to stand in front of a class of 50 people and give a lecture of an hour and a half. You don't have it. You just don't have it. You should be very clear and prepare, and even write your main messages to make sure that you cover all of them. Last but not least, don't stand and read from this paper. This is something which is doesn't work.
I go to Anna and then Barak. Anna.
Yeah, just talking about best practices. So let me give you some practical advice or hint. Just imagine yourself as a client, as a potential client. So let's put yourself into the client, not only investor shoes, but also potential clients. And by that, I mean that if you have anything or something to be shown, just show it to us. Just explain your product or solution. Let us understand it. So I know there are tangible, like, physical goods. They are also like software solution, But if you have a demo of application, if you have a demo of your platform, just present it to us, demonstrate it to us. If you have a mock-up, it doesn't have to be a prototype, of course, especially in the early stage. If you have a mock-up, if you can build a mock-up, just it's not about, only about talking, it's also about touching and feeling. So if you can something to be shown, just show it to us.
Great, thank you. I think Barak was next.
Yeah, just a quick comment. This is a question that I get quite a lot, so I would recommend for all of you for who this is going to be the first time presenting to investors, you could look it up on YouTube. There's a methodology that I follow quite often called the 10-20-30 rule, developed by Guy Kawasaki, a venture capitalist from California, that tells you how to tell your entire pitch in 10 slides and in 20 minutes. And obviously you can adapt it to our format, but that would really be a good start for you if that's the first time you're doing it.
Great.
Yeah, I wanted just to make a follow-up comment on what Oren said when he was saying to write down just the messages, but don't read the paper. Okay, you are supposed, I know that some entrepreneurs and scientists, maybe you are not a great communicator, but if you are passionate enough, you will know your subject and you will transmit the passion. So no need for reading the full paper during 10 minutes of the presentation that I have seen it previously in other panels, okay? Because what we want to see, is that you manage your subject, you are in control of your subject, that you are knowledgeable enough, but transmitting just maybe 10 messages that you want to convey to the jury, but don't read a paper, don't read a script, please.
Last but not least, just to connecting to what Barak was saying about an hour ago on a different topics, make sure that you are capable of showing what you have been failed to achieve. Because failing is one of the most valuable assets of entrepreneurs if they have succeeded to learn something. And this is something that investors do value. So be able to show something that 1, 2 processes, product, which you failed, you learned from, and this is what you're going to be in your next activity. That's highly important. And I know that within the secret society, failing is not something that you are enlightening. This is the place to do so. This is the stage to do so. And don't hide your failure. On the contrary, enlighten.
Thank you. Marco, you also wanted to say something.
Yeah, this is, of course, I think, our audience is eager to hear everyone's viewpoints and also, the combined, let's say, wisdom, all of us, maybe to help you see what is important when you come and pitch. There has to be the underlying assumption that what you have written, the business plan, the materials, that this is known to the panel. It was not so known last time around, but hopefully in the next round we will know a little bit more of what is written. It's the kind of like, you could even call it academic proof or like intellectual, you just you had your time, you put it down, so we now know what you say you will do. Now you come in front of us. And now I want to say, like, I use a few analogies, maybe just to leave a point of memory. The kind of actual thing is, I would like to see people come in front of the panel who say, we are the guys who are gonna do this. We'll be responsible, give us $1 million or $2 million. We take the money, it's in our hands, and we will deliver this business plan. And obviously, we would like to see you describe how you take on the customer, the market, how you find paying customers, those kinds of things. So it's like you actually make it visual for us, and so we can believe that, okay, we give you the money, you will get the customer with this solution. So the analogies I promised to give you, that a little bit maybe contradictory a little bit to some people. Let's take military analogy here. There is a war, there is a battle, the troop troops come in front of you? Will you give them to go out there and do some, take on some mission? You have described how you can do it. Now you come in front, and then you will have to somehow make us believe that you are the people whom we should give some of these precious weapons so you can go and do the mission. The other one, maybe less controversial, is an exploratory trip to Antarctica or behind the unknown waters or the space. You know, you have written stuff. Now you come in front of us, prove it, show it, make it visible, be human. That's what I want to say.
Thank you. Staviana, do you want to add something?
Like everything else in communication is 10% of what you say and 90% how you say it. It's very important for us, and this is something personally when I'm on the EIC jury or you know, having in front of me entrepreneurs that pitch, I want to look in their eyes and I want to see all the passion, the motivation, that I'm going to do this no matter what, be transmitted from their energy in their eyes. It is very important. This is the easiest way to show us that I'm serious about this. I'm going to make this happen no matter what. Because that's what this kind of juries want to see. So it's show your passion. That's all it is. Because you're in a way going to be scored on the capability of the team and the motivation, and nothing, no amount of writing on paper will prove your passion to us than your eyes and your, you know, how you transmit that. So, you know, really be human and let that show, let it shine, because this is the most important factor. Investors invest in people, not just in ideas. Ideas are not, you know, they're one idea a dime, 100 idea a dime, as they say, right? There are many ideas. It's how you implement it, because they're very similar ideas at the same time. Is your team, are you passionate enough? Is your team the one that's going to make it happen because they believe it so much? They're not going to, you know, they can take 100 no's, but they will still persevere and they will make it happen. If you show that to a panel, you can be sure that you'll be funded, because that's the most important thing. Well, not, you know what, in general terms, don't take that as a, yeah, we'll fund everybody who comes and shows how passionate they are. All the rest of the elements do need to be there. So disclaimer, don't take me wrong. I wanted to pass on the philosophy of how this is done.
So passion is very important, as Staviana says. One question that keeps coming up, I mean, I have to make a disclaimer here that we have so many questions coming up. I don't think we will have time to address each and every one, but we will get back to you. One question that is actually recurring in the questions coming in is local versus international impact. I mean, how would you see startups or even established companies who are clearly promising on delivering something that is locally relevant, is locally beneficial, but not at the international level? Here, I want to say that within our call for proposals, we specify that we do want the international level. So I want to hear what you have to say. I see Oren and then Staviana.
I think we should refer to the word impact, or understanding what do we mean by impact. And then referring to domestic or globally. And no doubt that if an idea will be presented and will come and solve even a severe significant problem, which is only domestic for Cyprus, it will have a very, very, very low ranking, as opposed to an international potential market. Now, the idea or the thinking that if we are approaching and giving or approaching into a global market, we might be cannibalized or damaging our local industries, the answer is absolutely in no way. It doesn't happen. There is that could be seen in a very simple way. I think that entrepreneurs should think globally from day one, not from the third iterations, but from day one. And in order to implement global thinking from day one, they should be able to adopt and to implement other tools which their awareness for them in Cyprus is very, very low. Those tools related to the intellectual property. You cannot conquer the world. You should try to aim to conquer the entire world. but you cannot conquer the world without having a very strong IP strategy and understanding how do you doing so. So no doubt, a global strategy is, besides the fact that this is part of the request within the proposal, that should be. It's not enough. Saying that we are going to be global is good, but in order to be global, you should be able to show that you are capable of developing the right strategies and tools and practices and using advanced systems and method within the intellectual property field in order to create competitive advantage in territories in which even you don't aim to get to them right now, but even down the road, you want to prevent from other people to compete on those territories. And the only way to do so is to understand and aggressively use tools which related to intellectual property, and it's cost money, and it's not cheap. But this is the fundamental way to become global from day one.
Thank you. Stavriana, you also wanted to say something.
Yes, to take an extreme example, if you are a kiosk that wants to do an e-shop and it is very innovative, let's say for the local market in one of the districts in Cyprus, this program is not fit for your purposes. You will not be funded. The idea is, and now mind you, when you first, for example, you want to pitch for the pre-seed. So obviously, if you do get the funding, it doesn't mean that from day one you are expected to be in international markets. What the jury wants to see is that what is the go-to-market strategy? How are you going to scale this thing up? Because even though you start small, the think big, going in the international market has to be there. So the value proposition that your idea is proposing to the target customer segment needs to be for the international markets, not for a niche, super niche market in Cyprus. Obviously, as you know, for innovation to scale, you need to attack beachhead markets, small parts of the market, because you're a small company that cannot take a big bite out of the market. So you take small bites, you own the market, you bite into, and then you grow. But you do that very fast. That's the whole idea of this funding. So obviously, we're not going to be funding companies that are innovative only in Cyprus. There's no point, guys, to do that. There's literally no point. It's not going to have an impact. It can have a bigger impact if it's an international company, because it's going to have international sales, it's going to hire more people, it's going to have more revenues, therefore pay more taxes, et cetera, et cetera. You know how this goes, right? It's a capitalist economy, and that's a good thing, because that's how the world goes round. So think big, because building companies, and especially innovative startup companies, it's a very difficult thing to do. Why would you want to do it for a market of 1 million people? Attack the world.
Great. Oren, and then Anna.
Just a small remark following my previous statement. When we are talking about go-to-market strategies, there is another thing which related to the business model, which are sub-element within the strategy. I would highly advise you to be careful and not to do a copy-paste or whatever that is to models which are playing in other places in the world and not fit for you. The strategy for Cyprus companies will not follow the YC combinators or a lot of the strategies of American-based companies, and that is due to the fact that you are far from your target market and you are tiny. So there are other strategies of becoming global from day one and taking market shares, but not try to copy paste the Silicon Valley and the YC models as they are, because in many cases, the challenges of American-based companies, even in your size, which is located in a potential market of $350 million, which are the Silicon Valley on one side, Boston 128 on the other side, and in between a huge domestic local market, is totally different than yours. You can approach this market, but not with the same practices and not copy paste of the go-to-market strategies of those companies.
Okay, great. I think Anna wanted to say something, and then Marco.
Yeah, also a brief remark, just even for very specific, so very well embedded in the Cyprus ecosystem industries such as agriculture, shipping, or tourism. We also have examples of that. We want finance like local leaders. It has to be, you know, international, like global ambition standing behind that. And let me give you some examples, even if it's a very specialized, specific, but also very specialized markets such as race cyclist or, you know, halloumi market. We had such examples. They have to be this global ambition, so basically they can attack it internationally, country by country, step by step, even regionally. Of course, it doesn't have to be global at the end of the day, but it has to be international, even for very specialized, specific or niche markets.
Okay, great. And then Marco.
I love to echo my fine colleagues. It is very, very great possibility here, not to have to go against anybody, but rather to echo and to add one more thing here. It goes to the diversity discussion we had. I think we had a very, very smart, very good overall diversity discussion already. But let me add this one point when it comes to international capabilities and showing and demonstrating an international capacity of your firm. I think when I was thinking of what was really impressing me about the applicants that I saw in January was that I saw quite solid international capacities by the people when it came to, let's say, degrees from universities around the world, and also internationalization strategies that were focused very credibly on markets that are different from, let's say, Helsinki-based companies or Berlin-based companies. Now we have Cyprus-based companies. Where do you have like your comfort zone? Which markets can you access? And just one, of course, huge factor, which is Russian access to Russian market and Russian professionals. I think in Cyprus, it's just one example. I think Cyprus is an advantage over Israel, maybe a little bit. Israel is also well positioned in those markets. But I think I just wanted to add this: that be unique and be Cypriot, find your own space and don't be shy of showing, let's say a little bit controversial market sometimes. Don't try to copy the book like Oren was saying from the US.
Great, thank you. Two last questions. The first one has to do with IP rights. So securing IP rights, if a company has not yet secured its rights, but they have clearly defined the strategy on securing IP, will this be okay with you as jury? And another question on IP was whether they can do this afterwards. So if they can subcontract, for example, to secure the IP. Yeah, Stavriana?
Okay, well, you will be scored on that, because IPR is one of the added value and benefit criteria. So you will definitely be scored for that. Of course, the jury wants to see that there's a strategy for IPR. If your pre-seed obviously might be too early on, but they still want to see that there's a strategy. But you wouldn't want to leave, if there is a potential for strong IP, you wouldn't want to leave it kind of like, oh, this is the last thought. And if I may do a sales pitch, that the RIF is building right now is developing the technology transfer office that will also support the private sector. We're already offering services and funding for IP. So you can do a lot of things to take the first step. So don't leave it like, oh, it's by the way, one of the things I will do before I enter the market. There needs to be a strategy there. Obviously, not for every innovation, IP is, patenting, shall I say, is the right strategy, because first of all, your gold might be in software and the way you handle things within a software, for example, and you won't be able to patent that in Europe. But if the US is an important market that you want to expand to, then maybe, we would expect to see in a way that there's a strategy for PCT filing in the US Patent Office. So there needs to be a holistic approach on this and a strategic approach to IPR, because like Oren said, IPR is an asset. It's a value. It's how you how a company from zero with no revenue suddenly has a valuation with a lot of zeros at the back. So it does matter, and it does contribute to that. So be strategic about it.
Okay, I think Anna also wanted to say something, or Oren. Sorry.
So from my perspective, the issues of the IP is crucial, and the IP is again open us a discussion of at least 3 days. We don't have them, so try to do it in 30 seconds. The issues of IPR or questions that related to freedom to operate is something that need to be discussed and need to be dedicated resources for that. I will tell you the follows. In order to come with a patent, first I will not leave that to be the last task of the company before starting to do sales, because very fast down the road we will find out that we have talked about that in this conference or that conference, and it's becoming a public domain, and everything that's becoming a public domain doesn't worth a shit. Doesn't have any economical value. So in that sense, having the patent as soon as you can, this is something which is mandatory. The other thing is that patents eventually cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, but they don't have to cost that way from the initial stage. If you have an idea, you can write a provisional patent. It's cost 80 US dollars or maybe less. And what we want is judge to see that first you understand the importance of intellectual property as part of the go-to-market strategy, as part of blocking your competitions to work within territories which you think are important to you. And you can do that by territory by territory, and it will reduce the cost. And there is more than one tool. It's not just the PCT and the provisionals. There are new mechanisms and new tools of working system and method that can be written as a patent, and that apply to many of the countries in Europe. That applies to software as well. I don't really believe within the value of having something within a black box, although sometimes it could work. And maybe the most important thing for me to tell you as entrepreneurs, the value of the patent is within your process of raising money. Because raising money is an emotional and psychological process in which you are asking someone else to trust you. If you are coming with a piece of paper that's saying that you've got some rights, then psychologically it's make easier for someone to give you $1 million than if you don't have it. For the true value of a patent before it was fully granted or after it was granted, I can tell you that the value of a patent which is not yet fully granted is higher than a patent that already granted in certain territories, because the one that was granted was clean without some claims that the judge or the authorities asked to take them out of the patents. While you are coming with a full patent, all the claims and all of your vision is written on a piece of paper, and in many cases it's wider than the eventual results. Therefore, an IP is crucial. Last but not least, find IP lawyers that can assist you and have the capabilities and understanding global trends. And it's not just about filing that within the right form. There is a lot more around it. And just nearby you, 40 minutes flight in Israel, they are very good. One of the best in the world, IP films that specialize only on that.
Thank you very much, Oren. Now, we have run out of time, but I want a last feedback from our panelists. If applicants would take one thing with them today, what should it be, do you think? And I want an answer from all of you, if possible, a take-home message. So in 1, 2, 3 words, what should they take with them today? So we'll start with Anna. Sorry, I have given you less time to think.
Is it okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
So for the presentation, be well prepared, well structured and concise. But overall, I'm looking for a team commitment and team motivation. So just be fully committed to the project you're asking money for. This is not your side project. This is your full-time project.
Thank you. Marco?
Yeah, I would say demonstrate your entrepreneurial ownership, responsibility, and incentive.
Great, thank you. Stavriana? We can't hear you. We can't hear you. Check your... There we go.
Think big, have a conquer the world attitude, can do, show your passion, let it shine.
Thank you. Oren?
Don't listen to skeptic people. As simple as aim to the moon, walls come to walls, you will hit the stars.
Thank you. Barak?
Yeah, I agree with everything that was said, so I will not repeat it. I will maybe add one point which is relevant for the crazy times that all of us are living in right now. More than ever, entrepreneurship is going to be needed to get out of the COVID-19 situation worldwide. Now is the time to think big. But when you come into the room, show us that you've thought things over and that you've adapted your original plan. Don't come up and present a plan that was prepared before the COVID situation as if nothing has changed, because this is a brand new world and you need to show us that you've adapted to it.
Great. And finally, Victoria?
Well, just say 2 or 3 words. I would say 3, which is innovation. Is this a real innovation? The team, okay, your capabilities for delivering. 3rd, scalability, international scalability. These are the 3 words that you need to keep in mind when preparing your file, when pitching. And if you have a good file, these 3 elements are fulfilled, I think you will have good capabilities, good chances to obtain the grant. And we take as principle as well that there is no perfect company, okay? You are a startup, so we do not expect that you are going to have the finest marketing commercial team, all the footprint all around in Europe or in Russia. Such a case, you will not be coming here to ask for a grant. So we take in consideration that you are at the beginning of your, let's say, of the road, you know, for success with your company. So don't think that we are dragons. We take all these elements, but again, innovation, team, international scalability.
Thank you very much. I want to launch a last poll, so you will see it coming up on your screen. Do you now feel more confident about participating in the RIF's innovation programs? I think this will give us an idea. It will give us a feedback as to you know, how you felt about today. I must say again, I mean, this was planned as a very different event. We did want you to interact live with our evaluators. We were planning networking as well, but I mean, we have adjusted and we do hope that it was useful for you. And I'm just seeing the responses now, and actually they're very encouraging. So I'm just closing the poll and sharing the results. So, okay, 79% of you say absolutely, we need more webinars like this one. So thank you for the heads up. Useful information was provided, but I'm still not confident. Please don't hesitate to contact us, come back, speak to the colleagues, the RIF help desk, speak to us. We can also transfer some questions onto the panel members and get back to you. 9% say I have a lot of reading and preparation to do. Absolutely. I mean, no time for you to be lazy or like to rely on what was done before. You've heard a lot of good tips, so please make use of them. And then one person said, lost, I remain lost. We would be happy to definitely help you out in that case. And hopefully you will come to us in time to see how we can help you. Right. We do hope. Yeah.
Let's, if I may say, we're making this the recording of this webinar available on our website,
yes,
right? And we're going to
exactly.
circulate it to social media, so you'll be able to see it and communicate it to more people as well.
Definitely. We do hope you found today's webinar useful. There was a huge number of questions, I have to say that, most of which we have addressed. However, in case we did not address your question, we will get back to you in writing, and perhaps we could also consider publishing some of the questions and answer as a frequently asked question document. We'll see about that. I'd like to say a big thank you to all members of the panel. I think this was a much needed, very useful and insightful discussion, and from the comments, I can see that our applicants, our participants also found this useful. Most of all, I would also like to thank the participants for joining us, submitting questions, and being so active. I mean, I thought we would have been, less than half by the end of the webinar, but actually almost everyone stayed with us until the very end. So thank you for that. Now, once the session closes, you will see a short survey coming up on your screen. Please complete it. It shouldn't take more than 3 minutes. I mean, given the situation, we want to keep offering webinars such as this one, and we definitely want to improve the format and overall experience for you. So please do give us your feedback. Thank you very much again. I hope you have a lovely day.
Ciao.
Stay safe, stay connected. Goodbye, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.